I just feel like from everything I was listening to up to that point, so many questions. Is John training? Is he going to come back? Is he want it? Is he? We don't know. A lot of people picking Ngannou because of that. And then he comes out and he just has the most, crushes him. When there were a lot of questions, like I said, a lot of people picking Ngannou. That just seems to be.
Everyone's calling John the GOAT, though. In fairness,
that's true. That's almost everybody. Couple people, but almost everybody. Yeah.
What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I think John's one of the greatest of all time. But talking about the depth of the heavyweight pool, and it's funny that we're having this conversation because I have had this conversation with some very knowledgeable fighters and guys that I don't want to mention the name, put them on blast. But here's the thing: if I was, what are John Jones's brothers do?
Football players.
NFL.
They're football players. They're making millions of dollars playing football.
Yep.
Anybody who's a superstar, stud, heavyweight athlete is playing basketball. They're playing football. They're playing baseball. Why would they want to fight for $100,000 when they can get $100 million contracts and get taken care of and make an exceptional amount of money like that? I feel the heavyweight division is those Division III football players, those Division II basketball players that couldn't make it into the NBA or into the look at what's his name?
That's a great point, dude.
What's that?
That's a great point. What's Francis doing if he grew up in Ohio?
Right, exactly. You think he wouldn't be in the UFC? Like, fuck that.
Or he'd be playing tight end for the Falcons, 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the depth pool, like now we're picking up guys that maybe they were, like I said, Division II, Division III level athletes, or maybe low-level Division I athletes, and they can't get to the NFL. They can't get to the NBA. They're like, oh, fuck, well, I can get into the UFC because the talent pool. Look at, what's his name? Greg Hardy, man. He trains at Extreme Couture. He was a world-class football player, and, then he couldn't play football anymore for personal issues, and he went to the UFC immediately.
Yeah.
And
he was in his 30s already and had no fight training, and he got to the UFC.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a world. Now, take Greg Hardy at 18 years old, start training wrestling, start training boxing, MMA. Now you have a world champion. Like, I really feel that's why the heavyweight division is slow is weaker than the rest. And that's why that's my argument for George St. Pierre being the greatest of all time. Is the average weight of a human being, a weight class 145 to 185, 170 is right in the middle of that. Those 170 pounders can't get, like me. I can't play professional football. I can't play professional baseball. I'm too short. So we have more of a talent pool. We have all these NCAA wrestlers that are transitioning to MMA that know the grind. They've been busting their ass, that are in fantastic shape. You don't see a 155er walking in the cage with a gut. You don't see a 170 pounder walking into the cage with the fat roll hanging over his pants. You see it in heavyweight all the time because they don't have to be as athletic. They don't have to be as dynamic because the talent pool is it's a little bit.
I'm never going to have this conversation with another person without that being my position. That's you're 100% right.
It's
100%.
I hate to say it, but I know I'm right there, and it's. Would you rather play football and make $1 million, or would you rather get punched in the face, have no health care, no health insurance, break your bones every year, and make $50,000 a year, man? Like when I was in the UFC, I was making $50,000 a year, and for me, I'm a frugal motherfucker. Like, excuse my French, I don't know if you're allowed to swear in your cast, but I'm frugal as hell. Like I felt like I was a millionaire making $50,000. But guess what? If I could play in the NFL and make $10 million or $1 million, or be a third string kicker and make 500,000. The third string kicker makes $500,000. Like the minimum in the NFL is $500,000. That's what Francis Ngannou got paid to win a world championship. So it's not even a question for me of why the division's so weak.
You're 100% right. And the thing is, like, just to add on to that too, in terms of like people being funneled into different sports, think of the social infrastructure for football versus mixed martial arts. It's like, hey, dude, you have to go to school. It's like, all right. And by the time they're in middle school, if Francis is 200 pounds and 6'1" when he's like 12, they're like, hey, kid, you ever heard of, football? And they've got, you have some mentors found him and has put him in the football program. And then once they're in, I mean, they're going to stand out. They're going to become great. And it's going to be a foregone conclusion what they're going to do. You're 100% right, dude. That's like, and it's actually almost laughably obvious now that I'm thinking about it. It's like, that's exactly right. Francis is a tight end for the, tight end or a linebacker making a
play any position he wants.
There are no heavyweight fighters that are freak athletes like him, except for him and John Jones. And both John Jones brothers are in the league crushing it. Yeah.
And they're exactly. John could have went to the league, but you know what? Maybe he just didn't want to follow in path of his brother. His family, they already have money. It's not like he's poor, and money's probably not an issue for him ever has been. So, I mean, he could really chose whatever he wants. And that's why he's, in the argument for the greatest of all time, because he's a superstar athlete that could have been in the NBA. He could have played the NFL, but instead he's decided to go to mixed martial arts. And that's the only difference. We get fucking 100 NFL quality players at 18 years old start training MMA. I mean, you'll see it. You'll see a new heavyweight division coming through, but it's just not going to happen. There's no money.
And then you look at like DC, you get an Olympic wrestler, and he's like the second best light heavyweight of all time. Like a guy who actually was like an Olympic level wrestler, and it's that size, and he ran through every single person that he fought except for John Jones at light heavyweight, and then Steve. I mean, it's like it's just correct. That's just the correct answer. That is exactly why. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna put that on the channel. Educate some people today.
Yes. And believe it or not, some people disagree with it, but I don't see how they can.
What could their position be against that?
It's that I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean that's about the only position they think.
It's the same conversation with soccer though, like where it's like, why is American soccer so shitty? It's like, are you fucking serious? It's like they have a choice. The best athletes have a choice to either go play baseball, play point guard or something else in basketball or football. Like, why would they choose soccer? Like,
I'll tell you this, and it's not like I disagree, but I'll tell you. So me personally, I don't watch any other sports. This is the only sport I watch, and probably what you're saying is I mean, definitely what you're saying, I guess, is true. It's a weird reality for me to want to accept that the one sport that I love it's not drawing in like the optimal talent, I guess, in this certain
only at the heaviest level.
Well, yeah, only at the heavyweights, because the lightweights are, I mean, dude, look at Volkanovski, bro. Like, now that is a freak. Now you put him, you add 6 inches to him and put 65 pounds on him. He's the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Yep.
Or maybe not 60 pounds at 145, but put 90 pounds on him.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you take that athleticism, that grit, that speed, that technique. I mean, nothing about the heavyweight division jumps out like, wow, that guy is really technical.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
And the thing I'll add to that too is, so Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins coach, one of my best friends, really, really, really good buddy of mine. And so when he was with the Niners and we lived in the Bay Area, when we would go to the games, we would obviously we'd go in the locker room after the game and all that. Like, so when you actually see these fucking guys up close outside of their pads, like you cannot even fucking imagine how athletic they are, dude. It's Absolutely. Like you just look at them and you're like, I didn't. And it's specific to NFL football players in my experience. Like you look at NBA players and they look like they're a different species. Like I don't understand how like humans can be this tall. It just wigs you out how tall they are. But NFL players, they look like you can look at them and be like, that dude is fast as fuck. Like you just literally look at them and they look like you can't even wrap your brain around how a person can be as athletic as this person who's walking out just like in a t-shirt. Like they don't look like regular people. They look like absolutely the most finely tuned athletes in the world. Like I'm trying to think of like anyone who Francis is kind of the only one that looks like that.
I agree with you 100%. And this conversation I just had, it's with an NFL player, Jerome Sapp. I train his kids. I do MMA training with his kids. They're getting into their teen years, and we talk about, because him playing football, Jerome played for the Ravens. He played for Peyton Manning in the Colts, special teams captain. Like he's limping around right now. His body's all beat up. So he's pushing baseball on his kids. They can play any sport they want. His youngest, Kai Sapp, holds the world record for 100-meter dash for 9-year-old. Guinness Book of World Record. He's 9 years old. Like, this kid can play any sport he wants, but his dad's doing the right, and he's putting him down baseball because there's big money in baseball, and they're not getting their ass whooped every day.
There is big money in baseball.